Welcome back to this episode brought to you by the African Diaspora News Channel and the Africa Today broadcast. A big shout out to King Phil Scott, King Kellen Cash, and the entire fraternity at the African Diaspora News Channel. We are coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda. I'm here with my brothers once again, Brother Samuel Lee Banham and Brother Larry Walls. I'm gonna get you a very heavy, very deep Ugandan names.
I appreciate that.
Yes, that's it's on me. It's on the house.
Thank you.
It's on the house. So yes, we are back in part two. In the first part, we were just having a general discussion of the the organizations that you represent, the Pan-African organizations that you represent that are from America, telling us about your work, your journey into Pan-Africanism, and just painting a picture of America, of what the day-to-day black man or woman in America, goes through. And, we talked about the stereotypes, the propaganda, the deception that you guys have been fed about Africa, which you have come to realize is not true at all.
Absolutely.
So, and it is good that you've actually seen for yourself.
Yes.
And experienced for yourself. In this second episode, we are going to be talking about investment. We're going to be talking about repatriation. We're going to be talking about citizenship and the meeting we had yesterday. Yesterday, after all our viewers,
Sure.
We met with His Excellency Ambassador Abby Walusimbi, who is the Senior Presidential Advisor on Diaspora Affairs. I went with my brother Larry Wells and my brother Sam, and we took some beautiful pictures. As you can see them on the screen, they will be displayed for you to see. It was quite a very fruitful meeting. I'm going to start with you, Brother Larry.
Sure.
About the meeting yesterday.
Right.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. The meeting yesterday went very well. It was an honor and a pleasure to meet the ambassador. We talked about various things, and he was very attentive, very, very diligent, very nice brother, and it was absolutely a good meeting. Even to the point where he's probably will set up another meeting with us to talk more about the African diaspora and what we planned, our plans and future going forward as working with specifically Uganda, but with the continent as well. So it was a very powerful, very positive meeting, and I look forward to meeting with him again. Actually, yeah. All right, great.
That is wonderful. We met just to reiterate. We met with His Excellency Ambassador Abby Walusimbi, who is the our senior presidential advisor on Diaspora Affairs, Office of the President. And it was a beautiful meeting. It was really, really a beautiful meeting. And we are set to meet with the Prime Minister. He's here to give us a definite date.
Okay.
But and some very strategic heavyweights
Right.
in the Ugandan government. And this just goes to show the disparity. There is no relationship. There is no truth to what you guys are being fed. Right. Africans don't like you. No. The ambassador told you in your face that we are willing, because when we brought up citizenship, it was like, yes, that is something that we can make happen
for
every African American and other African diaspora outside of Africa that are looking to set up their investments here, move with their families, and become permanent citizens of Uganda. Yes.
Yeah, when you have a meeting such as the one we had with the ambassador, you tend to find out when meetings go well and when they don't. Number one, when they go well, they last longer, and you have a relaxed type of atmosphere, which is what we had during our meeting with the ambassador, and even the follow-up plans. Even when he says, when the meeting was pretty much over with, he says, "Come on, let's take a picture." So that's very positive for me. You see, so I thought that was great. Yeah.
Well,
it was well received, actually. Yeah, I appreciate it.
And the kind of reception that we received coming at the top level of the government, it's just a highlight of the positive energy,
Yeah.
the goodwill,
Right.
and the heart
Right.
that Africa has, particularly Uganda has toward the diaspora.
Right.
And we also discussed about having a diaspora day.
Right.
So these are all things that we have been working on over time.
Right.
I mean, it was not my first time to meet the ambassador.
Right.
I have met him more than once to discuss about a repatriation,
Right.
of African American diaspora,
Right.
of African diaspora in other regions apart from America. So
Right.
for him to say that, he just watered my spirit.
Yeah,
You know.
it's absolutely, it's very spiritual, brother. I appreciate it.
So Brother Sam, what do you think of the meeting?
I was blown away, seeing someone at that level, an ambassador, like it's like diplomat level, something that, let's just say, back home would be extremely hard to do. One thing I liked was the fact that we could show respect, and he would not only acknowledge, but he was generally curious about us and was glad to see us. In the hustle and bustle of everyday life, a lot of times, whether it's for us as Black Americans going to get your driver's license at the DMV, you feel like you're another number. Next, we felt like we were generally listened to, like they generally wanted to know about us, and we generally definitely wanted to know about all of you. And I haven't felt that feeling I don't think I've ever felt that feeling from a government official in years. So just to be able to have that genuine outreach, someone that hasn't even met you until to that day, is wonderful. Of course, you've seen it, and we've all seen and heard, especially you and I, Larry.
Yeah.
My ancestors bled and died. I'm not leaving. Think of it this way. When we interact with other Americans, which mean other Americans, people that are not of African descent, I'll give an example. They may be 4th, 5th, 6th generation Italian. They may go back to Italy for vacations and whatnot, and don't really seriously want to repatriate to Italy. It doesn't matter. They already have a connection between their Italian first cousins over there and back in the States. And they go over there and they fellowship and they do business together and they exchange. So they don't worry about all or nothing like some of us do. And my great-grandmother's bones were buried here. I don't know what's going to happen to me tomorrow, next minute, next second. But I do know that God intended us to live life to the fullest. Who's to say that if you don't want to leave America, let's say you're doing great in America, this is not about, hey, if you're in America, we don't like you. We live in America, at least at the current time.
Yeah, we live it every day.
Yeah. But what about fellowship? What about those people who do have the money, just like other Americans, to have a second home somewhere? How come your second home has to be in Greece, Italy, Germany? Why not on the continent of Africa? Why not where people like Brother Douglas has given you the open invitation to come and see for yourself, to come and go through the process yourself? Why not?
Wow, yes. These are the conversations that we need to be having in the now, because now if we miss this revival, this global awakening of Africans, who knows if it will take another, we risk, opening the gate for our offspring to walk, to live under an oppressive system. Yet we have the aptitude to do something about it now.
Sure.
It's very detrimental. It's a story of doom for you to know what the problem is and what the solution is, and keep talking about the problem and keep talking about the solution. I mean, we are setting our offspring up to live under these very conditions that we have lived under. And it cannot be like that.
Right.
It cannot be like that. We have to be, preemptive. Yes, you were saying something.
But Brother Douglas, I was listening to what you said, and we, not just Black people, period. I don't care which country you go to. We are very trusting and giving people. And we believe we're a heart-filled people. We're good people, actually. So we tried our best to live with these people, white people, for thousands of years, and we trusted them. And how many times have we gotten deceived? You mentioned policing. back during the slavery days, they had what they call slave patrol, where police
Yes.
rode on horses, and if they find you out in the street without your papers, you're done. How different is that from today policing, modern day policing? They pull up on you for no reason, or you have air freshener hanging in your window that may be distraction. Any little thing to pull you over, or they ask you where you're going, what are you doing, and they're targeting you. Oh, you didn't put your signal on. Next thing you know, you end up dead. So how different is it from that culture then to today? Not much, is it? I can't see it.
Modern day slave patrol, just same song, different dance.
Absolutely, and that's the whole reason why I think that, in my opinion, that coming together throughout the entire diaspora and joining forces with our brothers here is critical for us to survive in our survival. Can we bounce back? Claude Anderson said, well, I don't know.
It'd be tough.
Not to a point where they're killing, but as a people in our thinking, and I agree with them. Not everybody's going to agree with us on what we say in terms of coming together actually. But the ones that have that consciousness and have that thinking and willing to step up and put in the work to make it happen, those are the guys you look for.
Right.
Yeah. And they won't be hard to find.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm looking at two of them now. Right.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Definitely appreciate it. Like Elder Amafika Gayuka and Jim Klingman would be proud of the saying, and I believe it was Elder Gayuka that termed it like dragging a magnet through a trash heap. So you want to attract those of like mind. It's only so much time you can spend trying to convert those who may not want to be converted. So just like use the analogy of the gospel. Whosoever will, as Jim Klingman's, one of his favorite sayings is, whosoever will, let him come.
Sure.
Whosoever will want the fellowship, let him come. Some people are like, well, what about us that's pro-black, but we're not Pan-African? Well, if you still love your black brother and sister, we have a relationship still waiting here for you.
Right.
If you're not Pan-African, but you're pro-black and you have the Afro pick and the fist, and you don't hate your brothers, you're just not Pan-African like that, we have a relationship here with you. Most of the white Americans that can trace their ancestry to Germany, Europe, wherever, they have those that are able have a relationship with those mother countries. Even if they never plan on living there, they have a relationship.
Right.
A business relationship, a cultural relationship, even friendships, even marriages.
Right.
And again, as Claude Anderson said, white supremacy is a team sport. When Steve Bannon left whatever office he had with Trump, he was over in France pushing white supremacy. And we already know how France deals with African nations.
Right.
We know how many of those countries deal with African people and African nations.
Right.
So the question comes up again when it comes to establishing a relationship, why not? Why not?
Right.
Exactly.
And
exactly. You can be Pan-African, or you can be Black Power, or whatever you want to be. But the concept is Black first, the B1. I love that concept, brother. B1, and then anything you want to be afterwards, then be it.
Right.
But come together as Black people first. Number one.
Yes,
Amen.
and we are not outnumbered.
No, we're not.
We are not overpowered. It's just that we are not organized. And thanks to
Right.
you guys, when I, heard the depth of, the vision that you guys carry with the 1 million and with the Black is Back Coalition, and I love, Black People Organization, it gives me hope that there is hope for us, because let me ask, for how long are we going to keep talking about the problems? For how long are we going to be talking about the solutions?
Yeah.
So it's on us if we know what the problem is and we know what the solution is. It's on us if we do nothing about the problem, which we know very well.
Right.
And
we know what the problem is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's economic oppression. It's social oppression.
Yeah.
It's cultural exploitation.
Right.
It is political exploitation. We know that this, and it is not just exclusive to the diaspora, to the Black people in America or the Caribbean people, but even in Africa. Look at the banking system.
Right.
Look at the education system that we are raised under
Right.
in Africa.
Yeah.
And these are some of the conversations that three of us had with the ambassador yesterday.
Right.
We are talking about establishing a paradise where we are going to be introducing African American history,
Right.
Afro Caribbean history in Africa,
Right.
because Africans on the continent, we need to grow up with the cognition,
Right.
with the awareness of who we are as a people and what happened to us. Like, for real, I know that there is an effort to erase the history of African Americans. There is that project. How do they call it? The 69, the 69 project.
1619.
The 1619 project. Sorry, where they want you guys to focus on 1619 going forward.
Right.
Yeah. So what happened between 1619 and going backwards?
Absolutely.
So we don't need any of our history. Excuse me, to go down the drain. So it is a variety of things that we discussed, but all of that leads into the fact that now is the time. Africans in America now is the time. Africans in the Caribbean now is the time. Because listen, however much you consider yourself a foundational, a foundational American,
Foundational Black America.
foundational Black American.
Whatever you want to identify yourself.
You can
do it.
It is impossible for you to foundational. What does that mean? Explain to me.
It means
like I'm a 2-year-old.
To me, it's another way of saying American descendants of enslaved Africans, or some would say ADOS, American descendants of slavery, of chattel slavery. Basically, they're those like Larry and I, which are the majority of Black people in America, whose ancestors were captured from Western Africa, brought over and made into slaves. So that's what those two terms mean.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of debates, and we talked about it earlier about the undercurrent of they don't like us, they being you, don't like us being FBA, because 2 or 3 continental Africans were paid to go on YouTube and talk greasy about us, which is really how it gets done. Or they're coming over here to America to take our reparations. Most of the African acquaintances that I know, even as late as 2019, didn't even know that we are fighting for reparations. And I know a lot. I've traveled a lot. Even though this is my first time to the continent, this is not my first time talking to people, picking up a book. So you have all these agents and all this misunderstanding, all these lies. So it's nothing wrong, and I want to make sure I clarify, it's nothing wrong with being FBA or ADOS. That's how a person want to identify themselves. I look at it this way. Yes, we did build America, and I'm unabashedly unashamed about saying that my ancestors, Larry's ancestors, most of my friends' ancestors that are Black built America. We should never back away from that. But because we didn't have leadership and control over who it was built for and how, we built it for those who don't like us. So every right that we had is because grandfather got killed, or so-and-so went through hell on earth to get that. The jobs that we may get is because we had to be twice as good. All of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we did it, but if you want some ownership and control, knowing that white supremacy is a team sport, and when a cop pull you over, he's not going to know if you're FBA or ADOS. If he hates Black people, he's going to see that skin. Now, of course, we know there's people who pit us against each other in various ways. We've seen the hiring practice of how, remember, anti-Black supremacy is the foundation for white supremacy in America. So they may not like that Hispanic person, but if you and him apply for the job, they may give it to the Hispanic person just to create strife between the two of you. They're the ones who own and control the job. White supremacists do what they do. Snakes do what they do.
Yeah.
And I just want to make a final clarification. When we talk about 1619 project, that was actually, I believe it was a sister leading that, her name escapes me, where basically they were trying to tell more of the truth about our history once the English took over the part of North America now that we know is the 13 colonies beginning in the United States, or prelude to the United States, trying to tell more of the truth about our history. There was extreme pushback by white supremacists in America who hate us knowing anything truthful. So the 1619 project itself wasn't necessarily saying that Black history started at 1619 in America, because the Spanish and French beat the English to America actually when history, and they tried to capture and enslave us, bring us over there too. But the very fact that they were going to tell more of the truth on how the British settlers who became Americans treated us and how race relations really affected economics, politics, food distribution, because they were going to tell more of the truth, it was severe pushback. And so that's what you're seeing when you look at the news from America. Those that are white supremacists And just for emphasis, white supremacists are white people who believe they should rule and reign supreme over non-white people, especially people with African blood. And I say especially because, again, I can't emphasize this enough if I said it 200 times. Global white supremacy is based on anti-black supremacy. Everybody who's not white but are not African are in the middle in their eyes, in their global caste system. And that's how they treat the groups in America to pit them against each other. And so we have to realize that anything that they feel, just telling the truth, especially because there's a growing demand for reparations for those of us that are American descendants of enslaved Africans. And they're trying to pit these reparations groups against each other. Yeah. My motto is, hey, I'm what you would call FBA, Foundational Black American. I'm using that as a reference so people understand it. My ancestors were brought over here from Gabon on my dad's side, and Guinea-Bissau and Senegal on my mother's side. I did the DNA research. So yes, by definition, I am FBA or ADOS, American Descendants of Chattel Slavery. But I understand that we have to be organized to get our reparations, whether it's Jamaicans organized against Britain for their reparations or anybody. So my motto is, hey, you help Black Americans get their reparations, we'll help you get your reparations. We can help each other. There's no need to create false YouTube diaspora wars or foolishness like that. All it takes is for us to meet face to face, talk on the phone, do what we got to do to see what the real truth is, instead of listening to all these people that are getting paid to sell out, including those that look like us that are getting paid, and move forward.
All right.
We got to be practical.
Wow, that is an amazing insight. And the thing is, when you see Arabs in America, they're building for themselves, right?
Yes.
You see Indians, they're building for themselves.
Yes.
You see Mexicans, they're building for themselves.
Yes.
Except it is only people like it is only us that are building for everyone else,
right?
But
Indeed.
ourselves,
Yeah.
we'll help the Arab come through. And now they're putting up all these businesses and shops in black neighborhoods, and they're taking all the money, and they're doing it in a group kind of how do you call it? Group commerce, group economics.
Yeah, a cooperative economic fashion, you might say.
That's
their
model.
own version of capitalism.
Yes, and that's the model. That's the model that they're using for investment. Right. So, over the centuries, and I say this many times, we have built for everyone else. The glories that we see in Europe, the glories that we see in America, all that is premised on the blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors.
Right.
So we have had a good number of centuries for building for everyone else.
Right.
But ourselves, it is now time that we practice, we institute deliberately, an organized, well collaborated and coordinated effort towards group economics, and which is what we discussed with the ambassador yesterday, and he rightfully said, he graciously said that he's looking forward to our next step, and he has openly expressed in your hearing, in your presence,
right, that
we have their blessing to organize, to bring home our distant brethren back to the motherland. And so I just wanted to let that out there, so.
No, I'm glad you did. That was pretty good. And you're absolutely right about the Asian people and the Arabs. By coming to America, they set up their businesses in our neighborhoods because we make them rich. How many times have we made the Asians rich over? They'll collect your money. They'll stay open all day. They'll collect their money, and black people will spend their money with them, some of them, and they'll take it and go to the wherever they're living within there. Right. It's a tactic. We know that. Claude Anderson says, and I agree with him, on economic power. The dollar in our hands lasts 3 seconds?
A few.
Rolls around in the black community maybe 5 or 6 times, but in the Asian community, it stays there 10 or 12 times, in the Arabs the same way.
That means they're keeping their money in their communities, right? It is circulating around their communities.
Exactly.
Building their community up financially.
Right. And you're right.
So can you imagine that the average black person in America, what we spend over trillions of dollars, and we take some of that $1 trillion and spend it in the continent through the economic power that we will build?
Yes.
Tremendous.
Tremendous.
The last time I checked, it was like 1.5 trillion.
Is it? Yeah. Okay.
That they
Okay.
spent in a particular year. Which year was that? Was it, I think, 2019 or 20? I don't quite recall.
It was somewhere near that pandemic. You're probably right before the pandemic, 2018-ish, 2019-ish. Spending power or spending potential. I guess when potential is organized, it can become power. But yeah, I say spending potential because some of that's on credit, credit cards where you're in debt. So it's not 100% true, but it's true in practice in that, hey, if I'm going to go in debt, why don't I do it to invest in my future? Why am I going to do it invest in my children? If I'm going to go in debt, why don't I do it for a good reason? So that 1.2 trillion, or I believe, spending potential, and it has been spent, so it was proof that it's been spent, can be, again, diverted to what is good for us as B1 Black first people.
Yeah.
Is it true? I was doing some research, and that the statistics kind of baffled my mind. That all that the trillions of dollars that Black Americans are spending on Air Jordans, liquor, Mercedes Benzes. It's not. I just want to be clear. Okay. Where is this money where is it being spent? Because it's going to bring us to the next point of discussion, which is investment. Group economics, not over there but over here. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we do have a large segment of that. Whether that's exaggerated or not, I'll just say that everything we do that's bad is exaggerated. So I would just say that we shouldn't do it at all.
That's fair.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So anything that we do that's not perfect, that shows that we're human, if it's not good, is exaggerated. A Black person gets diabetes. Wow, you Black people got diabetes all over the place.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Unfortunately, and yes, sir, it is. I guess it is fair to look at it that way now. Because there's only three of us, there's only so much research we can do as individuals. I will say that when it comes to healthcare, if we are predominant, it's because you have medical racism. Economic racism is the reason some of our countries here on the African continent still owe like 50% of their gross domestic product to their former, or real in some cases, colonizer. Our neighborhoods, a Chinese woman told the truth. I believe it was on someone played her clip on the African Diaspora News Channel. The lady mentioned how when they got to America right after the Voting Rights Act and whatever, when they started letting other minorities in after we fought and carried this thing on our backs, civil rights, they let these other people in, and they wouldn't give them loans, these people from Asia, they wouldn't give them loans in the white neighborhoods, but they give these Chinese and Vietnamese loans to open businesses in the Black neighborhoods. But some of the same Black people that lived there, that was trying to get out of the ghetto, trying to improve, they wouldn't give them loans. You known this person for 5 minutes, you give them a loan. You've been with us for 400 years, but you give someone else a loan. That's what they don't tell you. The stuff like redlining, where they don't want Black people in a certain neighborhood, so they'll do economic and political districting and stuff like that to make it where it's either too economically hard for the Black person or group to move in, or legally they can't move in. And even when people say, well, that was in the past, you can have a policy that's not written down. There's no policy that's federal or local that says, hey, when you see a Black person and they smart off to you, shoot them in the back. But it happens all the time. So the unwritten policy, they try to carry as much over from slavery and Jim Crow as they can, they being the white supremacists. And for those that are not white, that don't like us, anti-Black supremacists. Because as we'll learn as we learn later, there were people from other places that didn't necessarily respect African people either. So we have to keep that in mind. We can't allow ourselves to continue to be disrespected.
That's right.
Actually, you wanted to add something?
Oh, no, I was just going to say that they've been using our people against us for their control and dominance since day one, and that's all over the world.
Right.
White people I'm talking about.
Right.
So, like Marcus Garvey says, a man that doesn't know his history is bound to fall. It's like a tree that will bound to fall.
Right.
So you have to build your history up and then come forward. You see, they own and control everything.
Yeah,
white
and
people.
actually, thank you for clarifying, the spending statistics, because for me, what really matters, I was mind blown that
Yes.
black people in America
Sure.
have that much spending power.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if that the weight of that financial ability would be diverted towards setting up generational institutions. Because which brings us to the next point of discussion, which is investment. Let me just paint a picture for you, just briefly. Companies from Asia come to Africa. Companies from Europe come to Africa. And, Caucasian, I don't know how to say it. I don't know any other way to say it, but, Caucasian corporations, white American corporations, they come here. And in less than 5 years, these guys are Fortune 500 companies among our people. That Africa is a real continent and it is a realm of infinite possibilities. Africa is virgin. We are simply at the dawn of the industrial revolution. So the possibilities here are endless. They are innumerable, if I can use that word. And even speaking with the ambassador yesterday, we spoke about how do you call it? Deliberate, exclusive investment, group economics. Where we can.
Claude Anderson.
Yes, indeed.
Group economics.
Yes.
Where we can organize our folk from America, the diasporans, from America and from the Caribbean islands, from Europe. Wherever black people are outside of Africa.
Right.
So we just need to organize groups.
Right.
And then we say, okay, now we are making a move of investment in education.
Right.
Especially education, because we are, Africans are a product. Any man is a product of the kind of education that that he grew up under. So talking about investment, that we could organize and have people investing in education, investing in agriculture, in consultancy, investing in health, investing in it doesn't matter what you want to invest in, but it has got to be organized. And gradually, as we spoke with the ambassador yesterday, we would like to form communities. Like you saw where you're staying, you've seen Eritrean communities and they're thriving well. You've seen South Sudanese communities, they're thriving well all over the country.
Right.
Ethiopian communities, they're thriving all over the country. Right. Somali communities, they're thriving all over the country. Chinese communities, there are different communities that are resident in Africa and in Uganda that are living just carefree.
Right.
But if they are living carefree here, then what about our own people?
Right.
So these are this is the model of investment that we want to to bring to the motherland.
Right.
And basically help uplift, not just uplifting the continent, but also creating room. What's the word? Lubricating the ground for a mass exodus,
making
a relocation
ready
of our people.
Do you believe in? Because I certainly do. Divine order of life, because I don't think anything happens by happenstance or by mistake. For example, we're here today.
Right.
Was that our path to be chosen from the day we were born? Do you know?
I believe that.
You think?
Yes, I
do too, because I think things are changing, and sometimes things have to change for the worse before you can open up your eyes and come into existence of who you are.
The trials and tribulations that our Creator created for us to go through to get here, He knew the end result. We didn't, but He knew.
Right, He knows. Right. Would you thought I was sitting here 5 years ago, sitting in your studio talking about this?
No.
I know.
It was
That's what I'm saying.
It was preordained, and it is very interesting, because now is the time that these conversations begin to happen. And that is why I'm going to keep saying this, that it's no small thing that you guys have broken the ice.
Thank you.
Broken the ground and actually decided to come here. So when we brought this to the ambassador, it was like, wow. And by the way, our meetings are going to be posted on the president's, social media handles. The pictures that we took yesterday. Yes, so watch out. I'll be sure to send this over. So the fact that there's that saying that make hay while the sun is still up.
Right.
The Lord has graced us with these wonderful people in government who are willing to listen to this kind of perspective, who are willing to open up the country to the mass repatriation of African Americans or Afro-Caribbeans and create provision for them to set up investments, group investments, practice group economics, relocate permanently with their families, and become permanent citizens of Uganda. So and that really, it watered my heart, because I am for repatriation. I am for dual citizenship. So when we brought this to the ambassador yesterday, and you recall,
yes,
was
indeed.
like, this is something that we can make happen. The words of the ambassador, and that is going to be it's going to be a very profound pull factor.
Okay.
Not people coming and the peculiarity that you people have, African Americans, is you're sitting on a wealth of skill, knowledge, experience, and expertise. If an African, you're like a silver bullet, if I can use that word.
Yes.
All over the course of the time that I've been talking to different African American groups and individuals, I've noticed that either this person has funds that they are willing to invest, but they do not know where and how to begin, or this person has a particular skill or particular area of experience that they want to come and continue practicing here. And over time, we are looking at an Africa that has been completely disconnected from the dependence on loans from the IMF and the World Bank and all these, your neo-colonial imperialistic oppressive
underhanded crooks that just want to keep you under. Yes, indeed.
You wanted to say something?
Oh, no. I was going to, when you were talking, I was just thinking to myself about how oppressed that they keep us, because they make money. I'm talking about the white supremacy. They make money off our oppression. And I was thinking about a couple of brothers that's locked down, actually. And they develop all these skills while they're locked up.
In prison.
In prison, yeah. But yet they can't use those skills if they get released. You see,
because they have a record. No one hired them.
Right.
They can't be hired. So
Right.
it encourages them to do what got them in jail in the first place.
And they end up being
Yes.
incarcerated
Right.
again.
Yes, and they call incarceration rehabilitation. As Chancellor Williams said, how can you rehabilitate someone that's never been habilitated?
Right.
If you're not going to give the person a chance, what are you really doing?
Yeah.
And that's why these conversations we have two types of conversations that makes us, and I feel, unique from what you mentioned earlier, where people keep talking about the problems. Is solution-oriented conversations, which means let's discuss what may be the best plan to fix this. And number two, once you've figured out the best plan, let's go fix it.
Right.
And so, and he would get on to us, me and you didn't say this, Elder Gayuka and Elder Jim Kleeman, they would let us know that they're not talking just to talk.
Yeah.
So we can't be.
Right.
We want to put action. Once we figure out a solution to a problem, that's the end of the first conversations or the first series. The second series of conversation, okay, let's implement it. So those are the only two types of conversation that we are interested in.
Sure.
We're not interested in the weeping and gnashing of teeth and we're in such bad shape. We already know that. We are interested in
Action.
Action.
Right.
And in order to do that, you have to have solution-oriented conversation. You got to have action-oriented conversation. And we want to make sure we have the daraja, the bridge by which to do that.
Right, and very, very interesting. So these are as we are coming to a close, this is it. This is what we need. A very deliberate, collaborative effort between Africans and the continent. If we hadn't had healthy communications, healthy exchanges, and solid partnerships, you certainly would not be here.
Definitely not.
But then look, here we are. So these are the conversations that we need. Our people in America, not just in America, but even in Europe and the Caribbean, they need to know that now is the time. That Africa is the place to be. To be honest with you, I know that the dollar is falling. Look at BRICS, what's happening with BRICS, and now you've got Saudi Arabia joining the BRICS. You've got all these heavyweights, and they are determined to deal a death blow to the United States dollar. What is going to become of our people who are already oppressed anyway?
Exactly.
What is going to happen when the dollar falls?
Right.
Are we not looking at our people being relegated to camps? Are we not talking about, it's horrible
Got
to
to
think
stay
about.
forward thinking, brother, because that is a harsh whatever evil human beings think
Sorry.
they can get away with doing, we
Yeah.
find out they do. So some people may look at what you just said, oh, that's just conspiracy theory or what have you. I've learned by dealing with evil people that whatever they feel they will get away with, they will do. So it's up to us, it's up to Douglas, myself, and those of us that are serious to think about what happens when any currency is no longer the dominant currency outside that country. We're definitely seeing, I guess, globally from an economic perspective, we don't know if there will be a dominant currency when you talk about international outside that country anymore. We know that the currency strength of the American dollar outside of America is definitely weaker and gradually getting weaker. So yes, I agree 100%. We have to think about those things.
And as we're closing, I know we have an exploration tour scheduled, and we'll have another, maybe we'll have another interview where you're just talking about the experiences. But just two things. One, how have you found Uganda so far? And secondly, what is your message to the African American that only hears about Africa and has never been and is determined that based on these things that I've heard about Africa, I am never leaving this country? You certainly have left America, regardless of that propaganda. You certainly have made it to the motherland, both of you, and you've gone as far as opening up investments here.
Right.
So what would your message be? I think I'm gonna begin with Brother Sam, just in a few minutes as we're closing, and I'm gonna turn the microphone over to Brother Larry just to share with us what is your message to our folk, not just in America, but also, our brethren in the Caribbean, in Europe, particularly those that left the continent under slavery. Now that you've been out of America, you've been to the motherland, you've come despite the propaganda, and you've gone as far as establishing investments, and they're going to do well, I can assure you, because of the health, the fertility of the investment climate here, and the want of the people. What is your message to our people back in America? Your people, our people back in America. Your people, our people back in America. Family, friends, relatives, loved ones, and generally.
Wow. I would say that my message would be you owe it to your ancestors, you owe it to yourself to see for yourself, to come here and see for yourself. You owe it to God, especially those who claim to believe in God and claim to serve Him, especially those who claim to serve Him, to live to your full potential. How can you live at your full potential if you are fearful, afraid? How? So overcome that fear. Do what God meant you to do, which we live in a global society. You can make the home base of of your global society anywhere where God chooses to take you if you follow Him. So that home base for those of us that have African blood, why not make it here? I know that my message is not for everybody, but we've seen it for ourselves. You've known the people that we've talked to, being able to meet what we would call a VIP, the ambassador. Imagine trying to meet someone on the level of just mayor in your local principality, how hard that is. Yet doors are already open. You can strike while the iron is hot, or you can wait till it cool off and then people run off and leave you. And, I should have did, I would have did. Move forward. Have some integrity spiritually, and God will guide you. To quote the Bible verse that I've heard Jim Klingman quote a lot, whosoever will, let him come. So I know my message is not for everybody, but for those who are sick and tired of being sick and tired, as we discussed, whosoever will, let him come. There's no real excuse anymore because the evidence keeps on proving the naysayers wrong about why they say you shouldn't come here. So for those who mind is made up that they're not going to come regardless, this message is not for you. For those who have a mindset to see and to give this a try as much as they would give, in some cases, those who oppress them a try, whosoever will, let him come.
All right. And rightfully said. There are people that be emailing me, that be telling me, if you want us to come, give us passports. I'm like, when the children of Israel, drawing to the scriptures, when they were still in bondage in the land of Egypt, more than 430 years, if God had opened the Red Sea before they got there, they would not have known. So, but it was until they got to the waters that it was parted, and it was until they got to the wilderness that, when they wanted water, that water came out of the rock. And yes. That when they were hungry in the wilderness, it was not until that point that manna fell from heaven. So you see, it is not, we need to make moves. That is when things will happen. That is when we'll know the real truth. And like you've said, that the evidence proves otherwise, why they shouldn't come. Yes. So thank you, my brother. Over to you, my brother.
Yes, my
Mr.
brother.
Director.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. I really do. Yeah. What do I think about Uganda so far? I think it's a fantastic place.
They brought you oranges, by the way. So
oh, my oranges! Oh, great, fantastic, fantastic. Yes. Yeah, I haven't seen all of what I need to see, but I think we'll be seeing more of it because we have another week here.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to seeing that and working with Ugandan and getting to know it. And I want my name. For my brothers and sisters in the UA, I would say this to you. You follow your heart, you follow your mind. If you feel comfortable in reaching out and stepping out and making that journey, then I encourage you to do so because you won't be alone. If you feel you're comfortable where you are and you don't see any change in life, then stay there. That's totally up to you. So,
right.
That's my theory.
All right. So, thank you so much for tuning in. Personally speaking, from a perspective of a continental African, Africa is for Africans on the continent and in the diaspora, and certainly the doors are opening, and it is now up to our brethren, for whom we are preparing the land, to make the effort and come here and let's rebuild. Sure. Let's rebuild. We shall. I mean, we Africa will rise again, and in my lifetime it will happen. And your coming is a testament to that which is buried in my heart, which is, Africa will rise again from the ashes of defeat, economic defeat, social defeat, cultural defeat, political defeat, and thank God that I'm so honored that it's going to begin right here in Uganda. So help us God. So thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Douglas Majoga, and I was with my brother Larry Walls from the US, Maryland, and brother Sam from Florida. And they are here. We still have a good number of days together. I know we're going to be doing some sightseeing. Yes, you're going to try out the Luombo and the Rolex. And you have to take a ride in a border, and I'll be done with you.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I'm praying for you. Nothing will happen. So till next time, we are coming to you live from Kampala. Shout out to King Phil Scott, King Kellen Cash, and the entire fraternity, our army at the African Diaspora News Channel. This episode is also going to be, part of it is going to the Africa Today podcast. Shout out to Black is Back Coalition.
Is back, right. I am because we are.
Oh, yes. And you are because, I am because,
we are.
Again, please.
I am because we are.
All right. And shout out to the 1 of the million.
1 million conscious and conscientious Black contributors and voters, also known as the 1 million.
And shout out to African Diaspora News Channel and the Africa Exodus Foundation. Shout out to Elder Amafika Geuka, Sister Tena Anderson, Brother Arthur Johnson, Brother Charles, Ron Allen, all our people that are, sponsoring, that are, making moves to keep us watered and, funded, with your donations. Thank you so much. Until next time, I come to you from Kampala, Uganda. Douglas Majiga is my name. From me and Brother Larry and Brother Sam, bye-bye.